All right, everybody, welcome to episode number 3. You're on with Benny Gold, the founder of Lawyer Story, which is, I think, one of the coolest social media content creators out there dealing with lawyers. Joining me today is my co-host, as always, Nori Ehrenfeld. Hey, Nori.
Hi, everybody.
So, Benny, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, guys, and congratulations on this new initiative. I think it's a great idea, and I think you're a great fit for somebody to be doing a podcast. So,
look, Benny, I think of you almost like we're cousins because there was an immediate connection between us. Yep. This is really your idea. You had me on as a guest, and then afterwards, Nori said, well, why aren't we doing this? So, thank you for motivating us.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I hope that show will be out at the end of the week. But that was a great time. You're the one who, you're my first video podcast because I've been doing them audio. And as you could tell, I turned my computer around. I got the nice visual in the background.
Excellent.
And no light, no bad lighting. So I'm having a good time with it. I mean, I think, you guys always put out good content, like whether it's an advertisement for your firm, having Nori doing some clips, so I'm excited to see what you have coming through with your podcast.
Am I the first person who's actually cried in one of your podcasts? I got a little choked up.
You are the first, but I hope you won't be the last. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm such a crybaby, man.
Oh man, it was great. It was a great time. You have a great story, and I love those stories when somebody, they're a little, confused at first, or they think they want to do something, and then somebody puts them on the right track, and all of a sudden they're just a big success. Well, so congrats to everything you've done.
And you're living proof of that. Your lawyer stories, I think, is one of the coolest things out there. As a lawyer, I love what you've done. I love what you keep doing. But tell people what it is and how you got involved in it.
So I just, I'm sort of a sociologist at heart, and I went to UMass Amherst. I was a legal studies major. I loved my professors there. They were all very erudite, just people who spoke about law and society. And I kind of always knew I'd end up doing something that had to do with law and society. And, I didn't exactly know what it was, but, I felt like I always wanted to go to law school. I went to law school. Well, it wasn't easy all the time. I did like some classes, and, there were some ups and downs finding a job. It was difficult. I've lived all around New England besides, I haven't lived in New Hampshire and Vermont, but I've lived in, all these other states. And one day I'm like, when I'm talking to these attorneys, I'm not asking them about the civil process or anything like that. I'm more asking them so what was your biggest challenge, or what inspired you to go to law school? Why did you want to become a lawyer? And so I remember just I think we were going into a restaurant. I was with my fiance at the time, and I said, I'm going to start this thing called Lawyer Stories. I mean, there's no risk, maybe high reward. Let's just see what happens. She's like, yeah, good idea. So, I reserved the name on Instagram, and I went with it, and it's evolved, so I felt that if I had a story that everybody else has a story, because a lot of lawyers are sort of sociologists, they have interesting backgrounds. So I wanted to hear them.
Well, what I find so amazing about it is that you got lawyers from all over the world. So I'm reading a lawyer story about, some lady in Tehran, Iran, or somebody who's in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And especially now with what's going on with this pandemic, it makes me feel part of a bigger tribe of connected people. So I just, I'm so entertained and so moved by their stories.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm a proponent of community. I like the feeling of being
community.
A part of the community. And so I set out to make a large networking community, and sort of, it's interesting because in our climate, in our global climate, we need things that connect us more. And I think no matter where you're from, you might read a lawyer story that's similar to a situation you're going through, and this person might be across the world. Right. And, that's a connection for you to have. And I think it's important that we all, read each other's stories and connect on a different level other than, here's my resume, this is the grades I got, because I think it's very interesting to hear people's challenges, inspirations, passions, and motivations for, entering the profession of law.
And see, I've been a lawyer 30 years, and we're not typically people that share information, that show our
Right.
vulnerabilities, that
Right.
talk about private stuff. I mean, lawyers have this sort of image that they keep, perpetuating, and we're adversarial. And
Right.
what you've done is you've taken a segment of the community of the world and shown, hopefully the world, but shown us that we are also similar.
Thank you. Thank
That
you. And
that's the most
yeah,
revealing, beautiful part about this.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it is sort of generational too with attorneys. I think like a lot of the attorneys that we have on are and law students, they're into social media. I know you're very into social media, and so they kind of like to express their views or like talk about how they came to the idea that they wanted to be a lawyer. But yeah, I mean, I think it is pretty remarkable, like to look at all the countries that I have submissions. I mean, I'll wake up in the morning and have submissions from around the world, and I try to keep the dialect in the stories as long as they're legible. Like
Yeah.
I won't alter them too much, just so the person can tell that they're from a different country. And I just think it's an important thing to connect us all at these times. And I'm just going to keep going with it. I mean, I'm trying to grow something really big right
So
now.
how many have you done so far?
I think I have like there's over maybe like close to like 1,100, maybe
Wow.
a little over 1,000 lawyer stories, I could safely say.
Since when?
Okay, so we started in July 2017. I started with 5 people that I knew. So I'm coming up. I mean, it'll be 3 years in July that I've really started this, and then as I grew the community, I've started other platforms. I've tried to start a LinkedIn private networking page. I have a private networking page on Facebook. We have a Facebook page with over like 44,000 followers. And now, of course, the podcast. I mean, I think the podcast, Lawyer Stories podcast, is going to be the next big platform.
Oh, absolutely. So
Yeah.
how many submissions do you get a day that people want to be featured on it?
It varies. I mean, there's sometimes that I'll get like 4 or 5 a week. I have a pretty decent queue right now. It's not usually daily. It can be. It kind of ebbs and flows, but I definitely have enough to keep me going.
And how do you pick who you're going to accept?
So the thing is that I personally take pride in about Lawyer Stories is I don't look for any particular like look about somebody. I don't look for where they're from. I don't look for if they went to an Ivy League school. Like I want to have everybody in all shapes and sizes. I mean, that's sort of like not really like shapes and sizes, but I want everybody featured.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I want everybody featured. I don't want to like discriminate based on, hey, like you're gonna look good on my feed. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I think everybody looks good on my feed.
So I guess there's really no criteria.
I mean, and like just from everywhere. Like I think everybody.
Yeah, how do people in Mongolia find out about this? How have you reached the world?
I mean, I started and I used like some basic Instagram to like you use hashtags. You go to I watch a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
And so like he just kind of has this whole method about how to get out there and get your Instagram page known. And it's not something that happens overnight. I mean, it took a long time to sort of grow the page and to get out there a little bit.
Well, I'm curious because I post a lot on Instagram and I use a lot of hashtags, but I don't have lawyers, in Bangladesh commenting on my stuff. So you've done something great.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Done something great. You have any questions?
I do. What would you say, having observed so many lawyers around the world, as like some of the qualities that you've noticed them almost all share? Like, what's something all lawyers you think have in common?
Great question.
That's a great question. Well, I think a lot of the lawyers that have been featured, like, want to be featured, want to share their stories. I think all lawyers do have a story. Whether or not they want to share is another thing. I think everybody always wants, obviously, their story to be accurate and precise and put on a certain way or at a certain time. But that's a great question, Nori. I'm sure I could think some more about that. But,
have you had anybody that you said there's no way I'm posting this story? That it's just so outrageous?
Not really. I mean, I've had some people who aren't too nice sometimes. I mean, you come across people who are just sort of pushy, and they're like, get this up today. And I'm like, well, you could pay me some money if you want, but no, but for real, like they want, they want instant, and they're just not too nice about it. So usually that'll just be a deal breaker for me.
Yeah, just so everyone understands, you don't charge the lawyers to feature their stories.
Well, we do accept contributions right now. We don't have a menu per se, but we do have people contributing to Lawyer Stories. For like it, we have a Venmo account set up, a PayPal account, and we do accept contributions to help with certain items that we have that's helping growing the Lawyer Story brand.
So
it's a lot of work. We didn't start off like that, but it's really become work. When people are asking you to edit their story like in the middle of the night, and when they're saying, I want this up today, or like, can you? It's really become like a lot of work, and to like really, it's a lot of time to go into all these platforms and like be updating everything. But I don't want that to be mistaken for something that that I have this is a passion project for me, and the idea is really eventually to not monetize your audience, but it's to get a big company to come in and want to work with me and monetize that way. So that's sort of like that's sort of what you're aiming for, is to attract a company that works. I mean, I've had a lot of offers. I'd have a lot of people come to me, but I need it to be a good fit for what I'm doing. I'm not going to sell out. Like, I need it to be a good organic fit for like what Lawyer Stories is.
Oh, I respect that so much, and I love you. If people are interested in submitting their story to you for consideration, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so people can send me a direct message at lawyer_stories. They could also send me an email at bgold1218@gmail.com. And that's the best way to reach me, really.
How about to make a contribution? What's the best way to contribute to Lawyers?
Yeah, I have a Venmo account. It's lawyer_stories. Or my PayPal can be found underneath my email, bgold1218@gmail.com. So that's just how we roll. I mean,
these links. Nori's going to put all these links in the podcast for you.
Okay. Yep. It's just I want to be sure to get out there that everybody knows that, this is truly a passion project. This starting Lawyer Stories has been something like really close to me. It's very personal. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that, I started without really any ambition to make this into a side hustle or something, but it sort of evolved into like a little bit of work. And I definitely enjoy the work. I could sit there and do it all day. I have a full-time job though, and I really do appreciate and like my full-time job. So, I think it is growing into something that's going to be bigger, like a global community. And we're always interested in talking about business inquiry, like business with any other larger brands who may want to collaborate, basically.
Well, I think you're there, and I'm so thrilled that you took some time. I know you're super busy right now to appear on our podcast. Our podcast wouldn't be even a podcast without you. So thank you so much for your idea.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I'm really thrilled. Thanks for having me on here. Like, it's great to see you guys again.
Yeah, we should do this more often. We should do this more often.
We should,
So we know you got limited time. Nora, you got some other guests coming up this week. Who else do we have on the podcast this week?